Hey, I am Fair Donahue, and I'm going to give a fair assessment. This is going to be difficult. I'm going to give a fair assessment today of the mainstream media. This is going to be difficult. Mainly because of how biased people can be, and how biased the mainstream media is. Okay. Well, when it comes to anything, absolutely anything and everything at all that I have, anything that I do a free assessment on, anything that I do a fair assessment upon, I must look up the definition first. So I'm going to look up a definition from a reliable media source, and it comes to be that mainstream media, quote, is a term and abbreviation used to refer collectively to the various large mass news media that influence a large number of people and both reflect and shape prevailing currents of thought. Okay, so to paraphrase, the mainstream media is large mass news organizations that influence a large amount of people. Okay, that could be said about any large media company. Now, I do want to bring up, where is it? Right. Okay, so when you look on Google and you look up mainstream media, you're going to get a couple headlines. Other happenings around the world that the mainstream media news cycle has glossed over. Brazil's elections. Is social media overtaking the mainstream? Joe Scarborough slams mainstream media over Kavanaugh coverage. Joe Scarborough slams mainstream media over Kavanaugh coverage just from literally the exact same headline, but from a different news source. NBC News, mainstream media's Kavanaugh stories blur lines of journalism, ethics, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, personally, I'm making this as free of an assessment as I possibly can, saying that I have no bias. Just by looking down. The main headlines on Google. Google, being a mainstream media source, may have its own bias when it comes to the links brought up. However, I would like to believe them as a mainstream media source and as a trusted media source, just from the fact that they want to make money. You want to be able to make money. If you're so biased in a certain direction, not everyone will follow towards you. But if you're centered, everyone can agree. So, or at least most people, most rational human beings can agree with you during that point. So the next article that comes up is mainstream media fraud from the American Thinker. Then mainstream media from the definition of Conservapedia. I actually want to see that. So I'm going to look up mainstream media from all sides, and I don't mean that as I'm going to look at it from the left and then look at it from the right. I'm going to look at it from the website called allsides.com. And that's where they don't have unbiased news. They do have balanced news. Now, balanced and unbiased are two separate things. You can be unbiased, as some people think, and it ends up being wrong. You cannot be unbiased, no matter how hard you say that you are biased, including me. No matter how hard I say that I am unbiased in either direction, I end up being biased, so I try to balance it out by looking on both sides and by choosing specific words that don't offend anybody. However, if you are offended by literally everything, I cannot protect you from that. So, the website itself shows both sides and rates if they are more left or rates if they are more right. So when it comes to the mainstream media, they're the best, absolute, the top-notch, number one media source when it comes to balanced news. So, Of course, the #1 headline this week is the aftermath of the Kavanaugh confirmation. What will be the aftermath of Kavanaugh's confirmation on partisan divisions, November elections, and his tenure in the Supreme Court? In the center, we see partisanship in the High Court. Can Kavanaugh overcome the hearings? On the right, Democrats just killed the blue wave. On the left, the political aftermath of the Senate's final Kavanaugh vote. Alright. On the center, they're not ranking certain media outlets as being always right or as being always left. They're ranking this certain article as being leaning toward the left, leaning toward the right, or being all left, all right. So being dead center is the Christian Science Monitor. And let's take a look at this article. Partisanship and the High Court. Can Kavanaugh overcome the hearings? So, Brett Kavanaugh looks poised to become the newest justice on the U.S. Supreme Court on Saturday. Senators spent the past 2 days taking turns in a room of... You can tell just by looking at it very early. This is not biased either way. This is just ranking the facts, no opinion, no bias. Brett Kavanaugh looks poised to become the newest justice in the U.S. Supreme Court on Saturday. That can't be biased. He looks poised to become the newest justice. There's no reason behind it. Because if you do have your own personal reason as to why you think Brett Kavanaugh looks poised to become the newest justice, then it becomes biased. But if you just say he looks poised, that's fine. Perfectly fine. Senators spent the past 2 days taking turns in a room in a sub-basement on Capitol Hill to review the findings of an FBI investigation into multiple sexual assault allegations against Judge Kavanaugh. Okay. So there was an FBI investigation. I get out of this. There's an FBI investigation against Judge Kavanaugh, with Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine throwing her support behind Kavanaugh on Friday afternoon. The most bitter and partisan confirmation fight of modern times looks like it will reach its conclusion with Saturday afternoon's vote. I don't believe that this is the most bitter and partisan confirmation fight of modern times. Okay, I can see that. I do believe that it could definitely be the most bitter and partisan confirmation fight of modern times. Maybe not the most partisan confirmation fight of all time. It looks like it will reach its conclusion with Saturday afternoon's vote. If confirmed, there are widespread concerns that the attacks Kavanaugh both received and delivered over the past month could resonate long into the future. Yes, you could have concerns over anything. So it's not saying a lot, but it's not being biased, and you could understand that, and I could understand that. Accusing Democratic senators on the committee of grotesque and coordinated character assassinations, Kavanaugh described the allegations as a calculated and orchestrated political hit fueled by anger over President Trump's election victory. That's not difficult to assume when it comes to if you are so angry over Trump that you would be willing to do this, and then this pops up right now as you... Like, if Trump was not in the picture and this happened, then you can't provide this point. But given the facts and evidence behind it, you can understand this point. Non-biased, I absolutely love this article. Where do I give credit? This article is from Christian Science Monitor. Okay, I will agree with the bias rating. Christian Science Monitor. Let's see this. I've already read most of the article. His testimony was a sad day for our country, says Kermit Roosevelt, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania School of Law in Philadelphia. Kavanaugh's sense of partisan bitterness was disturbing in that its just partisan concerns will affect his judicial behavior. That is fair to say, that if you freak out and you assume that the left or you assume that the right is deliberately trying to attack you without any basis for it, then it would make sense. However, I agree with the article stating this. I do not agree with the person saying that. It was a sad day for our country. I highly doubt that. I would think that in more extreme cases, it could be I don't think that it was a sad day for the country. Just because one person you didn't like ended up making it onto the Supreme Court, that was not a sad day for the country. So I can display my own bias very easily. It's very easy to display your own bias, but I appreciate what the mainstream media has to say about. I don't know if this is actually mainstream. So when it comes to mainstream media, I can't rank all of mainstream media in one without sounding like I don't know what I'm talking about. However, I will rank All Sides, the news source by which you should get most of your information. I'm not sponsored by All Sides. I'm not sponsored by anything. I don't have like a million views on any of my videos, so I don't think I would be sponsored. All Sides, the greatest news source ever. Is it fair to say that in a world where news sources, I cannot give news sources more on a consistency rating, like consistently, no news source is consistently accurate to the point of being, no news source is completely unbiased. So when you have both sides, all sides will be able to take it. This is a long one today. Okay. This sense of partisan vision. Alright. No, I think that's enough. I'm gonna rank All Sides. All Sides is number one when it comes to news, and when it comes to mainstream media or just any news whatsoever. I'd rank All Sides as number one. And I just have to say, the rating behind it, I would give All Sides a phenomenal rating of 907. It is difficult, extremely difficult. I cannot believe this actually happened within the first 3 days that we have two rankings over 900. I am very strict when it comes to this. If I see a good movie but it is not well thought out, it just accidentally got good, I cannot rate it high. So I just have to rank myself. This is annoying how all these things are good. There's so much good in this world, and I'm so glad I'm able to represent it. Thank you. It is time to go to commercial. I will see you next time. Fair Donahue on Fair Assessment. Good night.